The galaxy had ignored the warning. Every species, every council member, every admiral believed humanity's message was just noise from an insignificant world. "Stand down," the humans had said. "Don't cross our border." It was simple, calm, and carried no threat. The words traveled through the stars, echoed across systems, and were quickly dismissed. After all, who were the humans to warn the galaxy? They were latecomers, small, quiet, and unknown beyond their single sun. The council laughed. But as fleets moved closer to Seoul, something started to change. From the bridge of the flagship Virel, Admiral Thalen watched Earth's system appear on his display. His fleet was massive, hundreds of ships with mirrored hulls and shimmering ion trails stretching behind them like ribbons of pride. "No resistance detected," reported his second officer. The humans hadn't sent a single ship to meet them. Just silence. Thalen smiled. "They talk, but they hide," he said. The fleet moved forward, confident and careless. On a mining station near Jupiter, a few human workers stopped their drills. One of them, old Captain Rice, looked out at the distant glow of approaching ships. He said quietly, "They didn't listen." Another worker frowned. "What are you talking about?" Rice didn't answer. He simply turned on the beacon that had been silent for decades. It pulsed once, white, then blue, then white again across the void. Moments later, sensors across the fleet detected a faint signal coming from deep inside the Sol system. It was not a weapon, not a transmission, not even an energy surge. Just a pulse of light repeating a single pattern. The alien technicians dismissed it as noise, but one linguist aboard the Virel tried to translate it. After a few seconds, her face went pale. "Admiral," she whispered, "it says, 'Final notice.'" Thalen didn't believe it. He ordered his ships to ignore the signal and continue advancing. "Let them send their warnings," he said. "We'll show them who owns the stars." The ships glided closer, their engines humming like thunder in the dark. But then the stars themselves seemed to flicker. A shadow appeared where there should have been light. It wasn't a ship, not in the way the galaxy understood ships. It was smooth, dark, and enormous, as if someone had cut a piece of space out of the night. No heat signature, no radiation, no engine trail. Just a silence that bent around it. The fleet slowed, confused. "Identify that object," Thalen ordered. The scanners returned only static. Every attempt to analyze it failed. Then a voice filled every ship's comms at once. It wasn't loud. It wasn't angry. It was calm, almost kind. "This is your last chance," the voice said. "Leave now." Every admiral, every officer, every AI heard it in their own language, in their own accent, as if the voice was standing behind them, whispering into their ear. The bridge crew of the Virel froze. For a long moment, no one breathed. Thalen gritted his teeth and gave a single order: "Fire!" 100 beams of plasma and railgun rounds tore through space toward the shadow. The void lit up with power and fury. When the light faded, the shadow was still there, untouched. The attack had vanished, absorbed, erased, forgotten by the laws of physics. The fleet's sensors went blind for exactly 3 seconds. When they came back online, something impossible had appeared. Every ship now saw a new image on their main screen. A map of the Milky Way, glowing in white light. At the center, a tiny blue dot pulsed slowly. Earth. A single line of text appeared below it. "You are warned." One of Thalen's officers shouted, "Admiral, we're losing control of the weapon systems." Screens blinked out. Artificial gravity flickered. The fleet's network began shutting down on its own. The crew panicked, pulling at controls that no longer responded. The shadow in space moved, slow, graceful, deliberate. And then, the stars around it bent, warping like reflections in water. On the mining station, Captain Rice stood by the beacon, watching the glow fade. "It started," he said quietly. He looked at the workers beside him. When humans say stop, it means stop. In the Council's grand chamber on Seraphis Prime, the delegates were still arguing about trade routes when the emergency feed came online. Dozens of screens filled the hall, showing the alien fleet in chaos. The delegates leaned forward, confused, until the camera feed froze. A new image replaced it. An enormous human symbol burning white against the black. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving only silence. Back near Earth, Admiral Thalen's fleet drifted helplessly. The ships floated with engines cold, lights dimmed, and silence pressing against every hull. A soft vibration ran through the void, like the heartbeat of something ancient awakening. The dark shape ahead of them began to unfold. Panels slid open like wings, revealing structures of silver and gold underneath. A deep light shone from within, not mechanical but alive, something between technology and creation itself. Thalen stared at it, speechless. The voice returned, softer now. "You crossed the line," it said. "Now you will learn why we warned you." The fleet's main flagship began to shake. Not from impact, not from fire, but from inside, as if the laws of energy themselves were changing. A wave of blue light spread from the shadow across every ship. And then one by one the engines died. Communications fell silent. The great fleet of the Galactic Council went dark in the quiet heart of Sol. In that silence the universe seemed to pause. Even the stars felt distant, waiting. Humanity had said, "Go ahead, try us." The galaxy had laughed. Now it was learning why no one should have. Far below on Earth, an old satellite blinked to life for the first time in centuries. It sent one short message to every system within 10 light years. "Do not enter." The Council ignored the first warning. They would not ignore the second. Darkness hung over the silent fleet. Every ship floating powerless in the void between Jupiter and Mars. The systems that once hummed with energy were now lifeless, their crews trapped in the eerie calm of dead engines and fading lights. Admiral Thalen stood on the bridge of the Virel, gripping the rail tightly as his reflection flickered on the glass. Outside, the massive human vessel remained motionless, its dark hull absorbing the light of distant stars. It wasn't attacking. It was waiting. Status? Thalen's voice cracked through the silence. "Power offline across the fleet," his officer replied, her voice trembling. "All backup systems are unresponsive. It's like the laws of energy stopped working around us." Thalen didn't answer. He stared at the alien ship, humanity's ship, and felt something he hadn't felt in years: uncertainty. The Galactic Council had fought wars across the stars. They had crushed rebellions, conquered empires, and erased entire species from history. But this wasn't war. It was control. The kind no weapon could match. Suddenly, the main screen flickered. Words appeared in glowing white letters. "Do not test what you do not understand." Then, static. On Earth, deep beneath the ice of Antarctica, a hidden command facility hummed to life. Rows of cold servers began to pulse with soft blue light. In the command chamber, General Amina Rain stood before a holographic projection of the solar system. "They crossed the line," she said quietly. Around her, human officers watched as the alien fleet remained frozen in orbit. "Activate Project Aegis." A single technician turned a key embedded in the console. Across the planet, ancient satellites that had been silent for centuries reawakened. Their panels unfolded like wings, their emitters glowing with pale gold. High above, in Earth's orbit, beams of energy connected them in a massive web, forming a perfect geometric lattice. From afar, it looked like humanity had drawn a symbol across the stars. In the void, the alien ship's sensors came alive again, detecting the change. "Admiral," the officer stammered, "I think—" The humans just activated something. "The entire system is resonating." Before Thalen could respond, the human ship moved for the first time. It turned slowly, with the grace of something aware of its power. As it did, space itself shimmered. New contacts appeared on radar, dozens, then hundreds, each one a human vessel rising from hidden bases around Earth, Mars, and the Moon. They weren't large like Council warships. They were smaller, faster, and carried strange energy signatures that no alien sensors could read. "How many ships?" Thalen demanded. The officer's voice shook. "Thousands, sir, no. Tens of thousands." The Council fleet tried to realign its systems. Some ships regained partial thrust. Others managed to reboot sensors. But their weapons refused to arm. Every attempt to target a human ship failed. Their own AI cores were being overridden, not by hacking but by something deeper. It was as if the human network was whispering directly into their code, teaching their machines to stand down. Thalen slammed his fist against the console. "Enough! We will not be humiliated by primitives." He turned to his communications officer. "Send a message to command. Tell them humanity has—" He stopped mid-sentence. The officer's eyes were wide with horror. "Admiral, command is gone." "What do you mean, gone?" "The relay signals, every Council channel cut off at once. It's like the entire network vanished." Thalen's chest tightened. The Council spanned half the galaxy. For its network to disappear meant one thing. Earth wasn't fighting just him. It was fighting the entire galactic structure itself. The human ship's voice returned, soft yet firm. You wanted to see our strength. You have seen the smallest part. And then the star shifted. A bright flare erupted far beyond Saturn. From the outer edges of the system came a formation so large it made the void tremble. It wasn't just ships, it was an entire fleet wall, made of human dreadnoughts larger than cities. Their hulls glowed with patterns of light that flowed like rivers, powered by something beyond fusion, beyond imagination. Each dreadnought bore a symbol etched into its armor, a single white circle surrounding a blue flame. The communications arrays aboard the Virel burst to life again. The transmission wasn't encrypted. It was a broadcast to everyone, human and alien alike. A woman's voice echoed through the cosmos, calm and clear. This is Admiral Rain of the Terran Defense Network. You have violated the borders of Sol. You have ignored every warning. You have brought war to our home. There was a long silence. Then she continued. We will not pursue you. We will not conquer you. But we will teach you. The alien crews listened in stunned silence as she spoke. You think we are new to the stars. You think we are fragile. But humanity learned long ago that survival is not strength, it is will. And will is something we have never lost. The dreadnoughts aligned their weapons not toward the alien fleet, but toward the emptiness between them. Beams of pure white energy stretched across space, forming a grid. A message written in light large enough for every ship to see. It read, "This is restraint." For a moment, everything was silent. No shots fired, no threats exchanged. Just the weight of that message hanging over every living being who saw it. On the Virel, the crew stood frozen. Thalen finally spoke, his voice quiet, stripped of arrogance. "Withdraw the fleet," he said. Slowly, the ships turned away, engines flickering weakly as they retreated. Not a single human ship followed. They simply watched, patient and silent, as the great alien armada fled. As the fleet crossed back beyond Pluto, all systems returned to normal. Power came back. Communication channels reopened. It was as if humanity had simply decided to give them back the laws of physics. But one thing stayed with them. A faint message burned into every ship's navigation core. No one could erase it. It read, "You were spared because we chose mercy." Back on Earth, Admiral Wren stood before her officers, watching the retreat through the holographic display. "They'll remember," she said quietly. One young officer turned to her. "Do you think they'll come back?" Rain's eyes didn't leave the stars. "No," she said, "but others will. And when they do, we'll be ready." In the silent reaches of space, the human fleet began to vanish one by one, folding into invisible gateways. The last ship to leave was the one that had faced the alien fleet first, the dark, silent guardian that had waited and warned. It turned toward the galactic core before disappearing into light, leaving behind only a whisper across every sensor in the system. Lesson 2 begins when you forget Lesson 1, and the universe would not forget this lesson for 1,000 years. The alien fleet limped home in silence. Their ships were intact, but their pride was broken. Across the galaxy, whispers spread faster than light, rumors of what the humans had done. No one could explain it. Some said humanity used ancient technology left behind by extinct civilizations. Others said Earth was hiding an energy source the galaxy had never seen. The Council tried to suppress the reports, but fragments of the recordings escaped into public channels. Every corner of the galaxy saw the moment a fleet of thousands was brought to its knees without a single human shot. In the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, the delegates gathered in panic. The lights of the chamber flickered as holographic screens replayed the human warning. "You were spared because we chose mercy." Those words echoed through the marble hall like thunder. The Xenari Prime Minister slammed his claws against the table. Mercy from them? They are barely 200 years into spaceflight. His voice cracked with disbelief. This is manipulation. Trickery. The Valaran delegate, a species known for its patience, leaned forward. "Perhaps," she said softly, "or perhaps we made a mistake." At the center of the chamber, High Chancellor Vorak adjusted his mantle and faced the council. "Our fleets are still functional," he said. "We will analyze what happened. We will find their weakness, but deep down even he felt the truth. The humans had not shown strength. They had shown control, the kind of control that could rewrite the laws of war itself. While the galaxy argued, Earth remained silent. The Terran Defense Network dismantled its visible fleet, storing dreadnoughts within hidden orbital vaults. Admiral Amina Wren stood on the bridge of her flagship Helios, watching the stars beyond Neptune's orbit. "They will come again," she said quietly. "Different faces, same arrogance." Her second-in-command, Commander Solon, frowned. "Shouldn't we send a message, ma'am?" "Something clear? Something final?" Rain shook her head. "They've already received 2 lessons. The third must be remembered, not told." Far away on a distant world called Orthea, a group of scientists watched the recordings of the human ship with fascination. They were not soldiers or politicians, they were seekers. Their leader, Dr. Myron, replayed the image of the human dreadnought forming symbols of light across the void. "They communicate in geometry," he said, awe in his voice. "Their energy patterns are harmonic. They didn't disable those ships. They tuned them out of resonance with reality." His assistant blinked. "You mean they played a note the universe couldn't ignore?" Dr. Myron smiled faintly. "Exactly. They sang, and the laws of physics listened." Within weeks, word spread to the outer sectors, small factions, pirates, and rogue empires who cared nothing for the Council's warnings. They had seen the fear in the great powers and wanted to test humanity for themselves. One such faction, the Rayleigh Dominion, began gathering ships. Their leader, Commander Zevran, stood before his troops, his red eyes burning with pride. "The Council fears ghosts," he said. "We will prove that humans bleed like anyone else." The Rayleigh fleet set course for Sul, moving through hidden lanes, avoiding detection. They expected resistance. Instead, they found emptiness. No patrols, no signals, just silence. "Strange," Zevran muttered. "Maybe they really are cowards." As the fleet entered the Kuiper Belt, strange readings began to appear on their sensors. Faint pulses of energy, steady, rhythmic like a heartbeat. "Track the source," Zevran ordered. A moment later, a projection appeared in the void before them. It was not a ship. It was a hologram, vast and bright, shaped like a human silhouette standing on nothing, staring directly at them. The image spoke with the same calm tone the Council had heard before. "You are entering protected space. State your intent," Zevran laughed. "My intent? To see if you are truly as strong as they say." The hologram blinked once as if disappointed. "Then you will see." The stars around them began to shift. At first, the crew thought it was an illusion, but the star field itself was changing. Constellations rearranging into precise patterns, aligning like the gears of an invisible machine. Then space rippled. A sphere of light expanded outward, swallowing the Rayleigh fleet in a wave of silent brightness. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then the ships began to vanish, not explode, not burn, just dissolve into fine dust scattering like snow. Zevran screamed orders, but his words fell into static. The light faded, leaving only empty darkness where hundreds of ships had been. From a hidden observation post on the edge of the system, human scientists watched the event unfold. One of them, Lieutenant Kara Voss, recorded the readings in silence. "Another fleet gone," she said softly. General Wren's voice came through the comms. "Confirmation?" "Yes, ma'am. The Rayleigh ships have been neutralized. No survivors. No debris. Good," Wren said. "No messages. Let them guess what happened." In the following weeks, the galaxy spiraled into chaos. Dozens of worlds demanded answers. The Council attempted to investigate, sending probes into Sol's borders, but none returned. Those who tried to approach the system were turned away by quiet transmissions that carried no threats. Only calm instructions. "You are not ready." Entire civilizations began rethinking their understanding of humanity. Scholars called them architects of reality. Priests began to whisper that the humans had ascended beyond the physical. But the truth, known only to a few, was simpler. Humanity hadn't transcended anything. They had learned to master what others feared. They had found the balance between will and creation, and they guarded it with quiet resolve. In the council chambers, Chancellor Vorek sat alone after yet another failed debate. He stared at the final report from the Rayleigh disaster. No energy residue, no wreckage, no survivors. Only a single transmission had reached their sensors, a line of text, faint but clear. Lesson 3. We are patient. Vorek whispered to himself, "If this is patience, what does their anger look like?" On the far edge of the Milky Way, in the glow of the Helios's command deck, Admiral Wren watched the data feeds from human satellites. She turned to Commander Solon. "The galaxy thinks we are monsters," she said. Solon nodded. "And are we?" Wren smiled faintly. "No, monsters destroy. We simply remind." As the ship turned away, heading into the dark beyond Pluto, the stars shifted again. Somewhere deep in the void, a new beacon lit up. A single pulse that carried across the galactic network, repeating one message in a calm human voice. "The lessons continue." Every major power received it. Every admiral, every emperor, every scientist. The meaning was clear. Humanity was not finished. And in the silent void between the stars, something vast began to stir. Something waiting for the next challenge. The next fool who would test the patience of the species that once warned the galaxy and was ignored. The lesson wasn't over. It had only just begun. The message spread like wildfire. The lessons continue. No one knew where it came from or how it reached every system at once, but by dawn on every world, it was there, glowing on public terminals, encrypted networks, and even in military command cores sealed from outside signals. The galaxy's most secure systems had been touched without permission. The Council declared it a mass hallucination caused by a virus, but deep down no one believed that. They all knew who it was. Humanity had spoken again, weeks passed. No ships approached Sol. Trade routes near human territory went silent. Even pirates avoided that sector. But curiosity has always been stronger than fear. In the Outer Arm, the scholars of the Kareth Dominion built a probe unlike any before. It was small, unarmed, and shielded with experimental null matter plating. Their theory was that human sensors worked through some kind of gravitational resonance. If they could mask that, the humans would never detect them. The Kareth launched their probe from the moon of Thyron. It traveled through the void for months, jumping between dead systems, finally reaching the outer edge of Sol. The moment it crossed the invisible border, its signal vanished. For 10 long minutes, their control center waited in silence. Then the feed returned. But the image wasn't what they expected. It wasn't Earth or Mars. It was a single pair of human eyes staring directly into the lens. The voice followed, calm and patient as always. "Still curious? Then learn properly." The transmission ended with a set of coordinates, not in Sol, but in the neutral system of Epsilon Reach. The Kareth believed it was a trap. But their high scholar, Yirun, disagreed. "No species sends a lesson without a student," he said. "We will go." Days later, a small fleet of Kareth ships entered Epsilon Reach. The system was quiet, its star dim and red. No planets orbited close enough to support life. Only a single station drifted in orbit, a simple ring structure, unarmed, abandoned. The fleet scanned it for hours. No life signs, no power, no transmissions. Yirun, filled with a strange calm, ordered his team to dock. They entered through a wide airlock that opened without resistance. Inside they found light, soft and white like daylight through clouds. The air was breathable, the gravity comfortable. The place didn't feel alien at all, it felt human. In the center of the main hall, they found a single chair and a holographic console that activated the moment Yirun approached. A human figure appeared, a projection of a woman in a simple uniform with no insignia. "Welcome," she said. "You seek knowledge, not war. That makes you different," Yirun stepped forward cautiously. "Who are you?" "I am a teacher," the figure replied. "You may call me Nara. The Kareth technicians recorded everything." Nara raised a hand and the walls around them shifted, displaying a vast view of the galaxy. "You all believe strength comes from power," she said. "From weapons, fleets, and fear. But true strength is the ability to end a war before it begins." One of the younger Kareth soldiers spoke up, trembling. "You destroyed fleets. You made the galaxy afraid of you. That's not peace, it's dominance." Nara smiled faintly. "We never destroyed them. We moved them." The hall fell silent. Yirun blinked. "Moved? To where?" Nara gestured toward the galactic map. One corner glowed with faint blue dots, hundreds of them. "Every ship that fired upon us is there, safe, alive, learning." The Kareth stared in disbelief. "Learning what?" Nara's tone softened. "Patience." The projection faded, leaving behind only a series of glowing symbols hovering in the air. Mathematical sequences and harmonics unlike anything the Kareth had seen. Yirun tried to copy them, but they shifted every time he looked. "It's teaching itself," he whispered. "This data is alive. Before they could analyze further, the room darkened. The projection returned one last time. "Take what you can understand," Nara said. "Leave the rest. Curiosity is only dangerous when it becomes pride." The light dimmed and the station went still. The Kareth collected what data they could and returned home, shaken but unharmed. When they presented their findings to the council, chaos erupted. Half the delegates called it propaganda. The other half saw it as proof of humanity's superiority. Meanwhile, deep within human space, Admiral Wren received the report before it reached the council. "They took the bait," she said, standing over a holographic table that displayed the Kareth ship routes. "What do you make of it, Solon?" Her second-in-command smirked. "Exactly what we wanted. The more they study us, the less they'll fight us." Rain nodded. "Let them believe they're uncovering secrets. Let them think we're teachers. It's better than letting them know what we're preparing for." Solon hesitated. "You mean the signal from the outer fringe?" Rain's gaze hardened. "Yes, it's not from them. Something else is coming." In a dark chamber beneath the human command base, an AI core hummed quietly. Its interface displayed a single repeating message. "Unknown entity detected beyond galactic rim." The coordinates blinked, far past the known borders of civilization. Rain stared at it for a long time. "They think we're the threat," she said softly. "They have no idea what's actually waking up out there." Solon frowned. "Do we tell them?" "No," Rain said firmly. "The galaxy wouldn't believe us anyway. We'll handle it like we always have." Outside, in the vast quiet of space, the stars shifted ever so slightly. Far beyond the edges of every known map, a dark wave moved, slow, enormous, and alive. It wasn't human. It wasn't alien. It was something ancient, forgotten by even the oldest species. And somewhere in the depths of Earth's command systems, a new line of code appeared across every human AI display. Written in calm white letters, Lesson 4 begins now. Admiral Rain read it and whispered, "So it begins again." In that moment, humanity's fleet stirred once more. Engines came to life across the Sol system, silent and precise. The universe thought it had learned from humanity. It hadn't realized yet. Humanity was still learning too. Far across the stars, the ancient darkness turned its gaze toward the Milky Way. And for the first time in millennia, something beyond humanity whispered back, "Then teach us." The next lesson would not be between species. It would be between creation itself and the stubborn, unbreakable will of the humans who dared to defy it. The galaxy trembled with rumors once more. The Kareth scholars had barely returned when a new signal rolled through the void, low, deep, and old. It came not from Earth, but from far beyond the rim where the stars grew thin and cold. The Council's deep-range sensors caught fragments of it, mathematical, rhythmic, and vast. It wasn't a message. It was a heartbeat, and it wasn't human. In the dark observatories of Vega Station, scientists watched the readouts with growing unease. "It's older than our recorded universe," one whispered. "Whatever it is, it's awake." The data showed gravitational ripples bending entire sectors, waves moving faster than light as if space itself were carrying fear. On Earth, the Terran Defense Network detected it too. Admiral Rain stood in the command hall of Helios Prime, watching the holographic map where red dots began to blink on the galactic edge. "That's not the Council," she said quietly. "It's something else." Commander Solon nodded grimly. "The pattern matches nothing we've seen. It's coordinated. It's using gravity like we use language." Rain's eyes darkened. "Lesson 4, she whispered. "They're coming to test us." The human fleets came alive again. From Mars to Titan, ships rose out of hangars hidden for generations. Their hulls gleamed with that same impossible material that bent light, each ship humming with quiet purpose. Humanity did not move to attack. They moved to prepare. The stars around Sol flickered as the old network activated. The Aegis Array, a web of ancient human technology older than most of their own records. Some said it wasn't even built. It was found. Across the galaxy, the Council watched in silence. Every broadcast from Earth had stopped. Every probe sent toward human space vanished. The younger races began to panic, remembering the last warnings. "They're going to strike again," someone said. "The humans will destroy us this time." But Chancellor Vorek knew better. He stared at the readings from the outer rim. "No," he murmured. "This time it's not them we should fear. The thing in the dark reached the first outposts. Small moons went quiet. A mining colony near the edge of Nareth space vanished overnight. No explosions, no transmissions, just silence where life had been. The Council sent fleets to investigate, but every ship returned broken, the crews pale and trembling. They spoke of seeing the stars themselves move, of shadows that swallowed light and sound. One captain described it in a single sentence before dying. It looked like space was remembering something. Humanity did not send words. They sent coordinates. The message reached every civilization at once, a meeting point in the neutral system of Tarlis 9. Against every instinct, the Council came. Delegates arrived aboard warships and research cruisers, ready for another confrontation. When they entered orbit, they found a single human vessel waiting. It was smaller than before, no larger than a freighter. Its hull bore no weapons, no markings, just the simple symbol of a white circle enclosing a single dot of light. It hailed them first. "This is Admiral Amina Wren of the Terran Defense Network," the voice said, calm and level. "The signal you are detecting from the outer rim is not of human origin. It predates all known civilizations. It consumes stars. It learns through contact. And it has found us." The Council chamber erupted in noise. Accusations, disbelief, and fear filled the airwaves. "A human fabrication," one delegate shouted. "You seek to distract us." Another snarled, "You unleashed it with your experiments." Wren waited for the chaos to quiet. When it did, she spoke one final time. "We are not your enemy. But if you do nothing, you will not have enemies left to fight." She transmitted a single burst of data, gravitational wave patterns, energy readings, and visual records of what they had already seen at the edge. The Council's own sensors confirmed it instantly. The signal wasn't a trick. Something vast was moving toward the galactic center. The meeting ended without conclusion. The delegates returned to their ships, but the fear followed them. Rien turned off the transmission and faced Solon. "They won't listen," she said. "They never do," Solon replied. "So we'll do what we always do," Rien nodded. "We prepare alone." The humans began building something new. Not a fleet this time, a beacon. It was enormous. A lattice of gold and silver wire stretching between Earth and Luna, visible even from the surface. The scientists called it the Echo. It wasn't meant to fight. It was meant to call. As it neared completion, Wren gathered her officers in the command hall. "This thing out there," she said, pointing to the glowing edges of the galactic map, "isn't just a threat. It's the test. If we fail, everything ends. If we pass, humanity won't need to warn anyone again." Solon frowned. "You mean to communicate with it?" "Yes," she said. "We'll show it what we showed the galaxy, that we can stand without bending." When the Echo activated, the stars dimmed. A pulse of pure, controlled gravity spread through the void, rhythmic and deliberate, an answer to the ancient signal. Every civilization felt it in their bones. Some called it madness. Others called it courage. At the edge of the galaxy, the dark wave paused. The hum changed. It was no longer a pulse of destruction, it was listening. On Earth, Rain stood before the observation window as the light from the Echo shimmered across the atmosphere. "It's responding," she whispered. "Solon, record this. Every frequency." A deep vibration filled the air, shaking the planet itself. The oceans rippled, mountains trembled, but the structure held. Across the galaxy, species fell silent, their instruments overwhelmed by the sound of two civilizations, one human, one ancient, speaking in the language of gravity and light. And then, the darkness spoke back, a voice, not sound, not words, but thought echoed in every mind tuned to the transmission. It was immense, patient, and alien beyond measure. "You learn quickly. Few ever speak back." Rain felt it inside her head, cold and infinite. She forced herself to stand. "We learned because we had to. We warned the galaxy once, and they laughed. Now we warn you, this home is not yours to take." There was silence for what felt like eternity. Then the voice returned, softer. "We do not take. We test, and you may be worth keeping." The transmission ended. The signal faded. The stars returned to stillness. Rain stood there, her hands trembling slightly. "Worth keeping," she repeated. "That's not mercy. That's curiosity," Solon exhaled. "What happens now?" Rain looked up at the sky, her reflection caught in the window. Tiny compared to the endless dark. "Now," she said, "we prepare for Lesson 5. And somewhere, far beyond the galactic edge, the ancient thing began to move again, but slower this time, as if considering what kind of creatures dared to speak to it without fear. The universe had finally answered humanity's defiance. And for the first time in cosmic history, something greater than the stars was listening. The stars along the galactic edge flickered like dying embers, and then, one by one, they went dark. Entire constellations vanished, their light devoured by the silent wave crawling inward from beyond the rim. The ancient being had paused once before humanity's defiance, but now it was moving again, slower but purposeful, as though curious about this small, stubborn species that dared to answer it back. On Earth, the command centers never slept. Admiral Wren stood in front of a panoramic screen filled with ghosted sensor traces. "The signal's amplitude has increased tenfold in the last hour," reported Lieutenant Kara Voss. "It's learning from our response." Reen's jaw tightened. "Then we'll teach it again." She turned toward Solon. "Initiate the Aegis lattice. Every relay, every planet, full synchronization." Across the solar system, ancient structures awoke. Orbital stations unfolded like metallic flowers. Satellites linked in perfect rhythm. From the icy moons of Jupiter to the deserts of Mars, bright lines of energy connected, forming a glowing geometric web around the sun. Space itself began to hum. "What is it doing?" Solon asked. Reen watched the readings. "It's not a shield. It's a song. The same one we used when we spoke to it before, but louder." The pulse from Earth rose in tone, reaching into the void. Somewhere far away the wave hesitated, and the stars that had vanished began to flicker again. The ancient presence was listening. Across the galaxy, civilizations gathered around their observatories watching this impossible conversation. For the first time in living memory, no one spoke of war. The council chamber, once filled with arrogance, now sat in silence as the delegates watched humanity communicate with something that existed before their sons were born. High Chancellor Vorek leaned forward. "There," speaking to it. The Valaran delegate nodded slowly. Not with weapons, with understanding. But the peace was short-lived. On the outskirts of the council's territory, the Raelith Dominion, what was left of it, prepared a desperate plan. They had lost fleets before, humiliated by human silence. Now, fearing extinction from the approaching darkness, they sought vengeance disguised as courage. Their ships gathered near the neutral system of Horus Prime. Commander Zevran's protege, a younger captain named Erix, led the armada. "The humans brought this thing upon us," Erix said to his crew. "If we strike at them now, we might save the galaxy before that monster reaches us all." His words spread across the channels like poison. Hundreds joined him. They called it the Purge Fleet. Back in the Sol system, human intelligence detected the movement immediately. Solon approached Wren with grim eyes. "The Raelith are mobilizing. It's not small this time. They've gathered ships from 6 empires." Reen closed her eyes for a long moment. "They never learn." Solon hesitated. "Permission to intercept?" "No," Reen said. "Let them come. They'll arrive just in time to see the real threat." The Purge fleet entered Sol space at high velocity. Their sensors were blinded the moment they crossed the border, just as before, but this time they pressed forward. "We won't be fooled again," Erix shouted. "Fire everything!" Thousands of plasma bolts, missiles, and beams filled the void, an ocean of light. When it cleared, there was nothing. No explosion, no counterattack, just the same silence that had haunted every species since the first warning. Then a faint shimmer appeared above Neptune, like a veil being drawn back. Out of that light, hundreds of human ships emerged, smaller than the dreadnoughts before but faster, their movements precise and fluid. They surrounded the alien fleet without firing a shot. A single transmission cut across all frequencies. "We are not your enemy," said Wren's voice. "Look beyond us." The Raelith captains ignored her, preparing another volley. But then their long-range sensors came alive, an impossible reading from deep space. Something enormous was coming through the outer edge of the system, bending gravity in waves that made their own ships tremble. Erix stared at the readings, his confidence turning to horror. That can't be real. The darkness approached, not as a fleet but as an ocean of living gravity. Stars behind it stretched into ribbons of light, torn apart by its presence. The same deep pulse from the edge of the galaxy now filled every channel, vibrating through hulls and bones alike. The human ships shifted formation, aligning into a perfect sphere. The Aegis lattice flared again, brighter than before. The entire system glowed as humanity sang back to the dark once more. The pulse from Earth rose, steady and defiant. The ancient presence answered. Its voice was not words but feeling, vast, curious, cold. You persist, why? Admiral Wren's voice was calm as she replied through the array. Because that's what we do. We persist. We build, we warn. We fight only when forced to. The stars dimmed, then flared, as if the entity was thinking. You are small. Small, Wren said, but awake. The presence hesitated. For the first time since its awakening, it seemed unsure. The Aegis lattice shifted tone, harmonic lines of energy folding into new frequencies. Humanity wasn't attacking. It was adapting, learning from the thing's responses in real time. Across the void, civilizations watched in awe. The Council's observers whispered prayers. Even the proud Zenari who once mocked Earth fell silent. The dark wave began to slow. The readings dropped. The hum faded. It wasn't gone, but it was no longer advancing. It lingered at the rim of Sol's influence, vast and thoughtful, as though testing the edge of its own curiosity. Then, like a breath exhaled, it spoke again, soft enough to make space itself shiver. You will teach us. The transmission ended. For a moment, the universe was silent. Then the stars brightened again, one by one. On Helios Prime, Wren turned to Solon. Her expression was calm, almost peaceful. Lesson 5, she said. We are no longer students. Solon managed a small, awed smile. What are we now? Rain looked out at the glittering stars, her reflection merging with the light. The teachers. And in the distant black, far beyond any map, the ancient entity lingered, no longer devouring, no longer testing. Instead, it watched, waiting to learn. Humanity had done what no species in history ever had. It had taught the universe itself to listen. The galaxy would remember this lesson forever. Silence stretched across the galaxy like a held breath. The ancient darkness had stopped its advance, and for the first time in millions of years, the stars at the rim shone again. It was as if the universe itself was unsure what to do next. Humanity had not only survived, it had been heard. But in that stillness, something deeper stirred. A sense that this lesson, like all before it, had only opened the door to a greater test. Admiral Amina Wren stood on the observation deck of Helios Prime, gazing at the blue curve of Earth below. The Aegis lattice still glowed faintly around the system, lines of light stretching across the void like threads of a cosmic web. Status of the entity? She asked quietly. Commander Solon stepped forward, holding a datapad that pulsed with faint blue readings. It's dormant for now, orbiting the edge of the Perseus arm, stationary, energy output minimal, but he hesitated. It's building something. Rain turned to face him. Building? Yes, Solon said. Not ships, not weapons. Something abstract. We think it's constructing a structure out of gravitational nodes. A mirror, maybe. We can't tell what for. Rain's eyes narrowed. And it's using our signal harmonics to do it. It's learning faster than we expected. Earth Command interrupted over the comms. Admiral, the Council requests a summit. They want to discuss collaboration on this new development. The tone carried the same hesitation the Council always had when it needed humanity's help, but didn't want to admit it. Rain allowed herself a small, tired smile. Of course they do. Prepare a secure transmission. Moments later, her hologram appeared inside the Galactic Council's Grand Chamber on Seraphis Prime. The delegates of dozens of species sat around the glowing circular hall. Their eyes were wary, no longer mocking or dismissive. The scars of fear still lingered from the previous lessons. Chancellor Vorik rose first. Admiral Wren, it seems the universe has changed course because of your people. But now something else brews at the edge. Do you understand what it's building? Wren's projection folded her hands behind her back. No, but it's not hostile yet. It's curious. You might say it's thinking. And that's what worries me. The Valaran delegate spoke next. You claim it communicates through resonance, not words. Could we not all contribute? Send our own signals? Show it that this galaxy is united? Wren shook her head. That's exactly what you must not do. It responds to intention, not language. If you approach it with fear, it will echo that. If you approach it with arrogance, it will test that. That's how it learns. The chamber fell silent. No one dared argue. Humanity had earned its authority not through war, but through something more terrifying: understanding. After the meeting, as her projection faded, Solon approached her. "Do you trust them to stay quiet?" Rain sighed. "No. Someone will always think they can control what they don't understand." Days later, Rand's prediction came true. At the far edge of Council territory, a rogue science fleet ignored her warnings. Led by the ambitious Dr. Kovar, they launched a series of quantum beacons toward the entity. Pulsing, encoded data meant to measure its reactions. For 6 hours, nothing happened. Then all 6 beacons transmitted the same final message: "It watched us." Moments later, every ship in the research fleet disintegrated. Not exploded, not burned, just came apart. The atoms themselves unraveled into light and dispersed into the void. The event left no radiation, no sound, just silence. The entity had answered their curiosity with demonstration. The Council tried to contain the news, but the images spread. Panic erupted across hundreds of worlds. Religious orders called the entity a god. Militaries began weaponizing fear, creating false prophecies to control populations. The galaxy trembled again, but Earth remained calm. Humanity did not kneel, nor panic, nor celebrate. Instead, they studied. Deep beneath the icy surface of Europa, in a lab carved from ancient ice, a group of scientists known as the Luminar Division worked around the clock. They had intercepted faint harmonics from the entity's structure, tones that didn't belong to any known pattern. When run through translation algorithms, the frequencies formed geometric visuals, spirals, lines, and human-like symbols repeating endlessly. Dr. Ilara Quinn, the lead physicist, stared at the display. "It's repeating our aegis patterns back to us." "But altered," she murmured, "like it's trying to show us a reflection of ourselves." Solon arrived shortly after, his uniform dusted with frost from Europa's airlocks. "The Admiral wants progress, Doctor. She believes whatever it's building might be communicating in ways beyond our comprehension." Ilara turned the projection toward him. "It's not just communicating, Commander. It's inviting." The pattern shifted, forming an image unmistakably human, a pair of hands reaching outward. Rain arrived hours later, drawn by the report. She stood before the projection, her reflection shimmering inside the hologram. "It's waiting for us to respond," she said softly. "But why now?" Ilara hesitated. "Maybe it wants to understand what we are beyond the machines, beyond the energy. Maybe it's lonely," Reen's eyes softened. "Or maybe it's wondering if we're ready for what comes next." That night, the team transmitted a single harmonic reply, one simple tone matching the frequency of a human heartbeat. It echoed out into the void. For 3 days, nothing happened. Then the stars began to flicker again, this time not in fear, but in rhythm. Every beacon, every satellite, every sunlit planet seemed to pulse once, twice, then still. Solon whispered. It answered. Reen stared at the sky. "No," she said quietly. It acknowledged. Weeks passed. The entity's gravitational mirror completed its formation, a vast, translucent ring visible from light years away. Ships that approached too closely saw their own reflections distorted in time, as if peering into their possible futures. Humanity's scientists called it the horizon. Then came the new transmission. An impossible message embedded in the cosmic background radiation, audible across every world simultaneously. A single vast voice, calm and clear. "We have learned your will. Now we test your unity." Across the stars, every major civilization received the same ultimatum: cooperate or collapse. Reen stood before the Aegis map, the message still echoing in her mind. "It's not asking for surrender," she said. "It's asking if we can stand together." Solon frowned. "And if we can't?" Reen's voice was calm, steady, the way only humans could be after everything they'd endured. "Then the universe will learn what happens when it tests humanity's patience." Outside, the horizon glowed brighter, casting light across the dark side of Earth. It was both a question and a challenge, a new lesson waiting to be written, and humanity, as always, stood ready to teach.